Gigi, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You know, you're one of my favorite people in Panama, and you have so much good information, Gigi, because there are the people, I see this, the people moving to Panama starting to get a little bit younger. And or some younger people, and the younger people that come in, they have kids that they're going to want to get into school. So that is like, you've been very helpful to me as far as sharing your experiences and information. So introduce yourself, and then we can get into all of that.
Sure. Okay, my name is Gislena Mejia de Bramwell. I have two kids. I have a 6-year-old girl and a 14. 7. Yes, I just turned 7.
You just turned 7 yesterday, right?
Yes.
You got a 7-year-old now.
Yeah, 7-year-old. You're correct. And a 14-year-old teenager boy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, and
you're from
I'm
Panama?
from Panama. Yes, mm-hmm. I'm from Panama. I'm living right now in Panama. Mm-hmm. My husband is also Panamanian, and I don't know what else. What else do you want me to?
We're neighbors. And
yes.
You remember how we met? We were like two of like the first families to move into this community. So
exactly.
How about that? So you live in Brisa de Golf Norte, and everybody knows how much I love Brisa.
Yes. Well, I met your husband first, Mr. Alfredo, and I believe I was just moving some stuff in. And he goes, my wife is in the social area. And we went there and we met. And since then we make a good click. And and now I'm proud to say that you're my neighbor and friend.
Yes. I mean, it really, and it was just like from day one. And I just can remember telling Sade, I met this lady and I know we're going to be good friends. And really like Gigi from a foreign perspective. And back then I had no idea where my whole situation would go as far as like living here. It was so far off, remember? Because that's like almost 10 years ago.
Yes.
Like 10 years ago, almost. And when I say that, being in that, like, know that I'm going to be coming to Panama, not speaking Spanish, for a lot of foreigners that just love everything about Panama, the biggest challenge is, of course, the language. And when I met you that day, I remember when I met you and the fact that you spoke English, and you were like just a couple doors over. And, like you said, we just clicked. It gave me such, I just can't even tell you how happy I was and how, I felt immediately connected to the neighborhood by way of knowing you. So that was really, really nice. Now, also, you lived sometime in the States, didn't you?
Yes, I lived there for a while, for 4 years. I did part of my high school there. My mom got married. We moved there for a little bit. And then I come back to Panama. I did my university here. I started working. I got married. And then after a few years, my husband got this opportunity to move to the Middle East for a job opportunity, and we left there and we moved there for also 4 years. 4 years and a half.
So something I've never known about you. What did you study at the university?
Well, I studied business administration and tourism, and then I got a master because the area that I was working in was not really related to it, in international business and logistics. And that's what I did for 10 years, and I'm still doing it.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that about you. So that just happened to come up. So you've lived in, you're from Panama, you lived in the States, and you were in Texas for a while, right?
Yes, Texas.
Texas. So you were in Texas, and then you went to the Middle East. And so tell me about the Middle East was really, really different, right?
Yes, it was a really different experience, but a beautiful one.
Okay. So then you got to be foreigner, a real foreigner. I mean, going to back and forth to the States, I'm a foreigner here. And I guess you were somewhat of a foreigner in the United States, but going to, because you were from Panama, but going to the Middle East, what was that like for you? And what was that like for your kids?
Okay, at the beginning, we had a lot of help from people that already were there. They had the same experience that I was about to live. So I got really prepared because they give me a lot of information. Yes. So when I was when I was here in Panama, I had like the school contacts and all the things that I needed to have in order to enroll my kids back then in Oman. So I was really prepared. It was really easy. The transition was really easy because I had all the information.
Okay.
And they were the only thing it was kind of tricky is when we had like different choices of school, which one was the school that really suit my kids' needs. Yes. And what I was looking for was something that they feel comfortable, that they can play sports because my son was really into sports. So, and they have like a good facility and it was close to home. That was something that I was really looking for. So we find this school that it was a British curriculum and had an international schedule. So it was really good. And
so in Oman, when you say international schedule, what did that mean? When it was international schedule in Oman meant what?
Okay, it's the same schedule that you have in the United States.
Okay, so all right, so that's across the board. Usually when you hear international schedule, it usually coincides with the US?
Yes, normally, yes.
Okay, got you. Okay, so you wanted an international schedule?
Yes.
Okay. And so then the kids at that time, some Malana, don't let me say her name wrong because she will check me.
Malena.
I always get the A and the E mixed up. Anyway, Malena. So she was really little.
She was really little.
Really little. So did she go to preschool? Was that like a preschool situation for her?
She went to the nursery. She went to the nursery at the beginning, and then she started the preschool there.
Okay. And then Richardcito was in like junior, right? He was about ready to go to junior, middle school?
No, it was in middle school, turning to junior high.
Okay, turning to junior. So what language do they speak there? Do they speak?
In the school, it was full English. Full English, and they have 2 classes of Arabic per day.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes, per day. No, I'm sorry. They got two classes of Arabic per week.
Okay. 2 classes.
Yeah, but it was not enough to learn it fluently. Yes. They just did it as a requirement.
Right.
But the full language, everything in the school was spoken in English. Okay. The teachers were from British, most of them.
Okay. So now, when you were there, you were prepared because you had people to help you transition. So what was the cost of education like in Oman? Like
the cost was really high because the schools, we didn't have another option. It was the local schools, which my kids were not ready to go there, and they have to be local in order to enjoy the school, and the international. Yes. And the internationals.
So when you say like really high, people always say that in this like, it just depends on what kind of money you working with, right? So when it's expensive, what did you consider? Was it like 12,000 a year or something like that, or more?
I will say like 15 a year. But the company was helping us. So
okay,
yes,
cool,
that was good.
And that is good. And that is good. And I think the other thing that you said, the interesting about Oman was that your kids being foreigners, they didn't have the option of the local school.
No, they don't. So that's why
Wow.
the company have to help us.
Have to.
Because they're taken out from our country to place to put us there, so they have to pay the difference. Yeah, and they cover most of the expense of the schools.
So Milena was little, but for Richard, how did he adjust?
At the beginning, we were a little scared because he was not really happy to move there.
Yeah.
But during the transition, everything went really smooth because he got involved in the sports. He got into the basketball team and the swimming team, and for him it was like, oh, I belong somewhere.
Yes.
So that was good. And the transition, talking about like the language.
Yeah.
He were in an international school in Panama before we went there.
Right.
The name was Oxford International School, but that school had a Panamanian schedule, so the timings are different. So they start in March, and in March, and the classes end in December. So it was a bit different there, because then when we moved to Oman, we have to wait a few months in order that he can enroll in the next year.
Okay, because they were starting in like August or September and going to like June or July or May or June?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we moved in April 27. So they have to wait like a few months in order to enroll. So the next period was in August. So he went to the school while we're waiting as a we say oyente, like you're really not enrolled, but you're there listening and getting to know your classmates. So he was there for 3 months doing that, to get used to the new classmates, the new activities, the system of the school. So it was good also for him, because when he got there, it was not lost. He knew what to do.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That is a really good opportunity. So what I'm wondering is, like, say for example, so if you had moved to Oman in July, he would not have had that much time, because he would have had to go ahead and start school in August, right?
Yes.
Oh wow. So I think that really turned out to be a blessing.
It was.
When you said that he couldn't start, I was thinking, what did you do with him for all those, months? Because that's a long time for a kid not to be in school, but he was kind of in school and just getting acclimated to the way. Okay. And I guess
he was like a listener.
Listening. And so I guess because it was an international school, probably culturally, it wasn't that much different from what he was getting here in Panama. Correct?
Yes, exactly. Correct. Okay. And he had people all around the world. They have Latin people there. There were people from Europe. There were people from Philippines. There were people from all around the world. It was really, really a really good experience for him.
Exactly. That's what I was going to ask you too. And then, in addition to that, you just made me think of another benefit of having your kids in school in a foreign place. And if they're in the international school, and so because they're in the international school, they're basically getting to communicate with all kinds of people. So it's a very diverse group, because a lot of people will be foreigners, in that they'll be foreigners, but I guess they'll probably be also, citizens as well. But they get a really, really broad experience because they're living in the community. So they get to know the natives, and then they get to know other people from other countries. And so that's a really good benefit too, I think.
It was very good. And in the school, they also used to do some activities in order that we get involved. And once or twice a year, what they do, they make a fair where we expose all the different nationalities, and we make food, and we,
Wow.
interact. And it was
Yeah.
a very nice experience.
Wow. So, okay, so you had the first time that you were a foreigner, you didn't have children, you weren't
Mm-mm.
married. So when you moved from Panama to the US, that transition was different for you then because you were a young person. And so when
Yes.
you moved to Oman as a family, then that's when you got to see like transitioning to another country from a whole different perspective, right?
Exactly. A whole different perspective.
Yes, yes. You have a lot more on your plate to be concerned about. So when you transitioned to Oman, you went because of Richard's job. And so you all had that decision you made. A lot of people that are moving to, and I'm sure you had to agree to it as well, but it was kind of like it was kind of more cut and dry. It's like we're going for an opportunity, and it's the kids are going to be able to go to school and stuff. And you have a lot of couples here in our group who are having to make a choice. So it's like to have a job opportunity and move and become a foreigner is one type of transition. And then the other one, as far as like the couple dynamics go, then the other
Mhm.
one is like, okay, well, one person saying, I love Panama. I want to be in Panama. And the other person saying, well, we're going to do that. We're going to leave. I want to go to Costa Rica. So you have people that have finally made the choice as a couple to be here as in Panama. Then on top of them having to come to that agreement as a couple, then they have to decide on what do we want to do with the kids? Like because here in Panama, like I said, I just learned that in Oman, there was no option for the foreigner to go to the local school. But in Panama, foreigners can go to the local school, right?
Yes, they can. They can go to local schools.
But
Correct.
it would be all Spanish.
Most of them will be all Spanish, and a
Okay.
few English classes. But I will say that those English classes will not be enough for you to learn to speak it fluently. So
Okay.
I will, but it's also what you're looking for. If you're already a native English speaker and you really want to learn Spanish, maybe
Uh-huh.
that could be a good option, because you're going to be speaking Spanish the whole day long. So
Right. So, but when you figure that, okay, say a kid that's coming from the States and doesn't speak Spanish, you think based on your experience that emerging them in a Spanish school would be good? You think they would catch on?
it will be rough. It will be rough. Also depend of the kid personality. If it's
Right.
really outgoing and that they can do it, more
Yeah.
likely they will. But if they're shy, it will be a rough environment to throw them in. So you have, it's something that you really have to know before you make that decision. You have to look at your kid and see if they're prepared or not. But I will not recommend it though. I think the best option and the best transition without being traumatic, it will be a place where they can feel comfortable. They're already making a big change coming from home to a new place. So I think the best option will be a school that they really feel comfortable, that they can speak their language they're used to speak every day.
Right.
And from there, you can decide later on if you want to keep the kid in that school, or move it to a different one.
Yes. And so I guess too, the next thing that parents have to consider in sending their kids to an international school is the cost.
Yes.
And now let me just be clear. So there's such a thing in Panama as a private school and then the international school. So
Yes.
so it's public, private,
Private.
international.
Yes.
Okay, so a private school means that it's Panamanian based,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a Panamanian based school. It's just not public. So you're going to have to pay to go to that one too, and it'll probably be more Spanish, correct?
Yeah, more Spanish.
Okay. So when the private schools are on the Panama schedule, correct?
Yes, there's Spanish schedule, but you also can get a private school bilingual. and not necessarily, it's not international, it's bilingual, and they will get both languages, Spanish and English. And sometimes they will have a third one, could be Mandarin, Chinese, or French.
Oh, okay.
That's another option too.
That is good. That is good. So if they went to I forgot, Gigi, I forgot what I was gonna, and I'm sorry, Gislena.
No problem. It's okay, you can call me Gigi.
But it would be another chance. So let me ask you this. So when it comes to pricing, would you say that the private and the international school can kind of be compared, or is one higher than the other?
The international, it's higher than the private school.
The private school.
And the bilingual, yes.
Okay, and the bilingual. So now tell me, so Richard went to Oxford.
Yes.
When he was in
the Oxford International School. Yes.
Okay. Is that's the same one down the street? Isn't that the Oxford?
No, that one is the Oxford School. The Oxford School is a British curriculum. The Oxford International School, it's American curriculum. US curriculum.
Okay, got you. Okay, so now, for people coming in into Panama and need to probably go with the international option if their kids don't speak English. And I agree. I think that it depends on the kid, true, but and probably the age of the child too. Because if you bring them in, like if you was bringing in a 2 or 3 or 4-year-old, I think that you could emerge them at that
perfectly
point.
Yes, because in that time their brain is like a sponge. They will absorb everything.
Yes, they're not going to be resisting language. So I think that would be a good time, if they were at that age, to get them into the school and learn the language, because it is going to be important for them to learn Spanish, right? So, but then if you have older kids, you made a few good points about, what's the right school for them. Location, you have price, you have curriculum. So if you, and I know this is just your personal opinion, if you had to say you thought this was the best international school in the Panama City region, do you have an opinion about that?
The best international schools. There's 2 schools that I was really looking forward to experience, but it's a bit far away from me, so it was not an option. There's one that is called Savis, and that one is Savis, Sabis.
Okay.
I will give you the name, and I will also send you the link. That way you can put that in the interview downstairs. Yeah,
because sometimes it's like, certain words, we hear it completely different. Like I would have had a V in there, it. S-A-V something. V as in Victor as opposed to B. So, okay, I'll make sure I do that. So Sabis, and where's that one located?
That was in Costa Verde in the west side.
Okay.
But that one is a really good school. That school also was in Oman, and all the people that graduate from the school have a good experience and a good opportunity to enter in any college that they want to go. So that's a really good option if you're in that area.
And you're in that area. Do you know about what the cost of that school is per year?
Not really. If I give you the information,
people could look it up, and just having that information. So that's a really good one. And then what was the other one you were going to say?
The other one, I will say the Metropolitan School. That's a really good one too. But it's really, the prices are really high. From my point of view, maybe from other people it will not be that expensive, but from my point of view, I think it's a very quite expensive. But I think it's a really good school, good location, because it's here in the area of Risa. And also the kids, when they finish the high school, they're really prepared to go into the real world. I will say that.
Now, you also said, I think when we were talking before, that the international school, when you send your kids to into an international school, they're pretty much eligible to go to any school, college in the world.
Mhm.
That's
Yes,
interesting. That is,
they
I
they,
didn't know
pre-
that either.
they prepare you for the different tests that you have to take before
The
you enter to a
SAT, the
US.
ACT. Oh, wow.
Exactly. Or for the
Wow.
Europe University too.
Okay, so that's a really good thing to know. So
Mhm.
what do you think some of the more like mid-level international schools as far as price would go?
Price range, and I would say that they have a good curriculum. The Instituto Cultural
Hmm.
International,
Hmm.
my kids are in that school right now.
Okay.
And the St. Mary School is also as accessible, but the thing is, the in order to get in is really limited because they already have the group, so it's hard to get in, but you can
Oh,
still try.
yes.
That was
So,
that school was my first option, but they didn't have capacity for my two kids.
okay, okay. And so then, all right, so one thing, okay, another thing that I just learned was if they're going to come to school, so how do you think it would work in Panama? Say, for example, you're coming to Panama and you want your kid to do an international, you want your
Mhm.
kid to go to the international school, but you're arriving in May and the school year is not going to start until August. Do they have a program similar to the one in Oman, or what happens? What do you do with your kids in the interim?
I really will not have an answer. I think that will depend of the school. Maybe they can enroll the kids in summer school. That
Mm-hmm.
way they can, get to know the environment, the kids, they're gonna be the classmates. That will
Mm-hmm.
be an option. But that will be also depending of the accessibilities that the school have or they can offer in that time. So it will be case by case, I believe. You have to check it
Well,
out.
depending on the school, but I'm telling you,
Mhm.
Gigi, that's a really good point to make because in the United States, okay, I think that when we change our kids from school, because you have your way of thinking just based on your
Mhm.
experience, right? So when you change your kid from school to school, we're always on the same school, school pattern.
Mhm.
And you just go, and no matter where you are in the school year, you just start. So
Exactly.
making sure that you either have a plan when you're moving to Panama to make sure you have a plan for if you're going to come several months before that international school
Mhm.
starts, right? Or making your planning around if they're going to come to a private school and start in March. You got to make sure that they need to really kind of be mindful about when they move.
Exactly. And also something that you really have to take into consideration that the transition for the paperwork takes time. So it will not be like you take the papers and suddenly they will be ready in 3 days. Sometimes it can take over almost like a month or month and a half.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
it's 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 different steps that you have to do. You have to read the paperwork, you have to translate it in Spanish, then you have to take it to the Ministry of Education, you have to put some stamps on it, and they
And
will
Panama
determine
stamps
what.
everything.
Yes, and they will determine if what grade, but that more likely will happen when you're about like in 10 or 12th grade, that you're almost about to graduate. If you're coming in those periods of your high
Yes.
school, they determine if you really fit in the grade here in Panama, or you have to go up, or you can go a little bit higher. They will determine that the Ministry of
Okay, so we're back. We had a little bit our call dropped, but that's okay because we're back. Okay, so when we left off, we were saying that, because Panama has to stamp everything. So
Yes.
it's more process than you expect.
Yes. So I will also would like to give you a few advice in order to get prepared.
Okay.
Most of the school will ask for a few documentations. The first one will be the good health certificate. So you have to take the kid to a Panamanian doctor, and they have to give you like a certificate that the kid have a good health in order to enroll the school. What they ask is a good behavior certificate, and you will ask that in your school that you were before moving to Panama, and
Good
they will have to give
behavior.
you, good behavior certificate. So a letter making a recommendation that the student is a good behaved student. That was the requirement that the school asked.
Panama wouldn't have took me. They wouldn't have gave my mom no good letter. They would have said, she can't come here. Okay, so they want to know health. In the States, they have to do physicals to get into school sometimes too. So you got health, and then you got good behavior, which I hope y'all listen. Badass kids. So good behavior. Okay, what else advice you have?
The credit convalidation paperwork. The credits. That will be,
like a transcript.
Exactly.
Like a transcript. Okay.
And very important, you report cards all the years.
All the years of report cards?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So if you bringing in a sophomore or junior, I don't know how they document these things, like that now. I haven't had a kid in school since.
You just go to school, and the school have all the records.
Okay.
And they just pull it off. Yes, there's no problem.
It's they'll give you a transcript, and then they'll also give you copies of the report cards too?
Yes, you need that.
Okay. That's good to know.
All those papers have to be translated in Spanish.
Okay. So then you got to translate them. Now, do they have to be certified as well? Like apostille?
Yes. So let's say that you're in Houston, right? I will put an example. You have to go to the closest embassy, Panama embassy, to certificate that the school that your kid is enrolled, the embassy will know the name, and they will stamp the documentation, and then you can bring it to Panama.
Okay.
So it's a way to say that you're not making up the school and the papers.
And that the school is accredited.
Exactly.
Accredited. Okay. That's okay. Okay. Wow.
Yes.
That's good advice.
Yes. And then when you bring it to the Ministry of Education, please be aware that you have to be patient. It takes time. It's not going to be like you turn the papers today and tomorrow will be ready. No. And the school know about it. So more likely they will get you enrolled with the documentation that you have. And then, yes, provisional. And then whenever you have it ready and the Ministry of Education give it to you, you can give it to them and it's all set.
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you. Okay, go ahead. You have more to say? Go ahead.
No.
Oh, that's great advice. Let me ask you this. What about vaccinations?
Very important. That's a very important thing. They will ask you for the vaccination card. And I more likely now with the COVID stuff, it will be a must to have the kid vaccinated. But that also depends on the school and the school culture, because not all of them are requiring that your kid it's 100 2 doses vaccine right now. It's not mandatory, but maybe later in the future it will be mandatory.
Okay, so as of right now, you basically need to find that out from the school. If your child is not vaccinated, the best advice would be to make sure that you know before you decide on a school what their vaccination policy is going to be.
Exactly.
And I
I
guess
think that that depends of the school and the school culture, because that,
yes, yes. Oh my goodness. Now, I think one thing about Panama and being in Panama and the vaccination, some things foreigners miss just by virtue of the language. And that's another
Mhm,
reason why it's so important for me to become more fluent in Spanish so that I can understand the news,
mhm.
so that I can understand the news. But it just doesn't appear to me that Panama has politicized the vaccination like the United States. Am I correct in that assumption? Or do you feel there's been some political, like, would it depend on like political opinions as opposed to whether people think that you should have the vaccination?
No, I don't think it's political. Not at this point.
I don't think
Not
so
yet.
either. I don't think so either. So right now in Panama, in the United States, I want to say kids 5 and up
Mhm.
are eligible for vaccinations.
Yes,
What is
correct.
it right now for kids in Panama?
Same, 5 and up.
Okay. So the
Yes.
5-year-olds, they get two shots. The kids get two
Two
shots as well.
shots. Yes,
Okay.
2 shots. But I
Okay.
think they're in the. I'm not sure right now if they're in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it will be 2 shots. It
Okay.
will be 2 shots.
Okay, and then also in Panama, when it comes to the kids, trying to make sure that the school has like the extracurricular that your kids might need, in order for them, like, and like you said, when Richard, got to Oman and he was like, he got involved in the sports and everything like that, it just made a big difference.
It does. It does make a big difference for the kid, because in that age they looking to belong to something. So when you have a team and you're like, they feel good about it, and that changed everything. So I would recommend it. And
Yes.
if the school doesn't have an extra curriculum, there's always an option to go to an outside academy of basketball, ballet, dancing. So that's also an option. And the prices are very accessible, so they're not that expensive.
So now I know that with Milena, her English is very strong.
Yes.
Because when she was really just forming her language, she was in Oman, and there was a lot of English being spoken, right? So
Right.
how is she adjusting now that she's here? Because you've been back now. Is it going on 2 years you've been back?
No, 1 year. I turned 1 year on November the 27th.
Just
So
this
1 year and a half.
It's just been 1 year?
Yeah. So I have 1 year and a few months.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, but you guys did come back. When you came back, it was COVID, right?
Yes.
So when you came back, it was COVID and all the kids were virtual, right? So
Yes.
when they came back to get readjusted, at least they were able to come back to the same home.
Exactly.
So that was, it's like, okay, this is the house we left in Panama. So that was good. So when they came back and then Panama was under lockdown, and then they had to go back to school. So I imagine Richard, he just eased back in. Was it not a transition or problem? Was his friends gone, or had he kept?
The thing when he left to Oman, he was in a different school. He was in the Oxford International. So when we returned, we choose to come use the cultural Instituto Cultural, because it was an international schedule and he will just run into it. If we were going to the Panamanian schedule, then he have to wait for a few months, and then he's gonna be a little bit behind. So we decided to go to the international schedule.
Yes.
But he was doing school from Oman.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the timing was different though, because when we find out that we were not stay in Oman.
Yeah.
We started looking for a school, and we were blessed that we find this school, and they accept Richard
Yes.
virtually from Oman. So the schedule was 5 through 9 o'clock every day.
Because of the time.
Yeah, because of the time
5
zone. Yes.
5 at night. You went to school 5 from the evening.
Yeah, 5 from the evening till 9.
Oh my gosh, that's interesting.
Yes. So we did that for a few months, and then we came to Panama, and then the school got I did all the paperwork and everything through the Ministry of Education, all the paperwork and all the process that I was telling you about. I just did that. Yes, a few months ago. So I'm really clear about the process. Yes.
So coming back, okay, because the baby, she had just kind of started school, really, right, in Oman. She started big school.
She was in kindergarten, but she was in the same building than Richard. They were in the same school.
Okay.
And then when she came back, what we did with her is we got a tutor in order that she can get familiar with Spanish a little bit more.
Yes.
Because she didn't know how to read and write in Spanish.
Yeah.
And in the school, because of her age, that grade, they introduced several subjects in Spanish. They got Ciencias Sociales, Español, and religion, that is in Spanish too. Okay. And lectura. So for her, she every day or in the week, she had 4 classes of Spanish.
So that's lecture, religion,
social studies.
Social studies, and one more.
Español y gramática. That is the same.
Spanish.
Sí, and grammar, but in Spanish. And so we got her a tutor, and the tutor used to come like 3 times a week to help her. We still getting a tutor, just to, because I work all day long, and my husband work, and I get a tutor twice a week to help her also with the Spanish. Okay.
So how's she doing with
it? She don't want to speak Spanish. Yes, but I heard her talking with other people, and she tried. But with us, she don't want to, because she knows for sure that for some reason we're gonna answer her in the language that she prefer, that is English. So she don't want to talk with us in Spanish.
Zola was like that. So at some point, maybe she'll just shift. So when and then she's in the international school, so it's not they're not there. There's not a whole lot of Spanish being spoken there either, right? Just her classes that she has. So, but at some point, I'm sure she knows it, and knows Spanish. But you don't know why they do that sometimes, because I noticed that with Zola. And Zola is, Zola is my granddaughter, and she's been in a Spanish-speaking school since she was born. And she's 4.5 now, but, especially in the beginning, she would not speak to us in Spanish. And it was almost like she knew, and she was like younger than Milena, but she knew that I wasn't good at Spanish. It was like she knew who had a native Spanish, because her teachers had like native, Spanish. She would talk to Alfredo a little bit, but she wouldn't speak to me. If I tried to speak to her in Spanish, she would answer me in English, like, girl, bye. You don't know what you're talking about. So maybe, she'll switch up.
I think she's stubborn. That's stubborn, because if someone talks to her in Spanish, she understands most everything that you told her. She will follow instructions in Spanish. Yeah, but she will respond in English. That's the thing. I think she's stubborn. She don't want to.
That is funny. So she'll change her mind about it. But so I mean, if you have any other thing, I mean, you have just been a wealth of information. I just wanted to make sure that I asked you all the stuff that I had because they are waiting for this interview, honey. Yes, they are. And I think one of the things that you did that was so helpful is to get them to start thinking about the schedules, the
Yes.
schedules and when you move in. And then sometimes it's not even intentional, it's just natural that
Mm-hmm.
we think that things that we when we think of the school year, we think of, August or September through May or June. And, if you don't do your research, you might not understand that when you come to Panama, there's two different schedules because
Exactly.
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I guess everybody's on the same schedule um in the United States. And I'm wondering, it's like when we call it an international school, do people come from the US? Are there like international schools in the US? I had never thought about
More likely they will have international school and they will prepare you to go to any university, like maybe in Europe. Or maybe they will have like a specific curriculum. Maybe they have an international school with the British curriculum. Could be that.
Okay.
Because in here in Panama, we have a German school that is international too, but they teach you German. And there's also a French school. I think that one is in Punta Pacifica, no, in Panama Pacifico. That's the
Panama
French school.
Pacifico. Okay, the French
Yes.
school. Okay. So tell me, there's the Oxford in Brisa de Golf Norte. There's the Oxford.
There's the
what is that one by Rita Smith? Do you know what that
That's
was?
the Pan American school.
Pan American school. Are they the only
Yes.
two in Brisas, the only two international schools?
No, I'm not sure if the Pan American is international. I think it's bilingual, but I'm not sure if it's international.
Okay.
Because they do a lot of classes in English. Most of them are in English. But I don't know if they have the title and the certification as an international school. We have to find that out. Okay. And there's another one close to the Pan American. There is a big facility, and I don't have the name for that one. And that one for sure is international. Okay. But I have to find that out, and I will give you that information because I'm not sure about the name.
Okay, thank you. And so I guess, and then the other thing is for foreigners doing anything, like I'm telling you, I'm shy to make a nail appointment because of my Spanish. You know what I mean? And I mean, really, up until this time, Al still makes my nail appointments. But the other day when I was in there, I'm really starting to like kind of pick up more. And one thing that I know is that there's usually somebody there that says, no, let me help. You know, when we're talking about the hell, you know, the hell, when the hell. And there's always somebody there that says, you know, hey, you know, I speak English, and then they'll help with the translation. And then there was this lady in there the other day, and she was just like, if you need anything else, just let me know. And I'm telling you, as a foreigner who doesn't speak the language, that is so comforting. And then it just became like a big joke kind of in the salon when, like, I was talking to what's her name? Your girl. Erica. So Erica actually started trying to pick up some English words, and it was fun. And then when she said something, and I say, well, she said un momento, and then she says 1 minute, and then I said, oh, you bilingual. No, and it just made me feel those kind of things mean a lot. But just to say, for me, like say coming from North America, knowing that I don't speak Spanish, when you call, so there's probably some trepidation just about reaching out to these schools because you think you're going to call and you're going to say, hi, I'm so-and-so. And they're going to say, sorry, no habla is English. And what do you think that because these schools are private, the private and bilingual and the international schools, that you would more than likely get someone that can speak English on the line?
Sure. Yes, more likely if they're bilingual, for sure they have to have a staff that are bilingual also. I remember when Richard were in the Oxford School, there was a policy that as soon as you enter the gate, the only language that you will speak, it's English. Even the person that was cleaning speak English.
Whoa.
Yes, so there's a policy. So the staff that work inside the school, they have to speak English.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
That's interesting. Okay.
So if you call those schools, for sure, they will speak to you in English.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the private schools that are not bilingual.
Right.
If they have staff that are full bilingual, but more likely there have to be someone there who will be able to help you or assist you.
Let me ask you something I forgot. Somebody on the page had asked about special needs. Does Panama have schools and programs for children with special needs?
They do, but they have like a low capacity. So maybe per classroom, they're allowed 1 or 2. And more likely they will ask you to have a tutor with you. So that's an extra charge that you will have to pay. And the 2 schools that I have make my research on, but I don't know about the other schools policies. But about those 2 schools, yes, they accept like 2 or 3 kids in the classroom with special needs. Okay, no more than that.
Okay, so you're saying like the international or private schools that you're talking about, right? But there are no. So there's limited space for special needs children, and they have to be accompanied. Pretty much. Okay.
Unfortunately, that's the way it's working.
Yes, it is
right now. Okay. Yes, I don't know. There's a school that calls Montessori, and they maybe in that school you can have more space for special needs.
Is that like downtown or what part of Panama area?
I think last time I checked, it was in San Francisco, but I don't know if they're still there or they have more.
I'm going to look it up because
Montessori.
That's to know. Montessori, yes, sounds like a Catholic school.
So no, but it's not. It's not. It's it's a methodology that calls Montessori, and that's the name of the school. But yeah, check it out because they have more capacity to have kids with disabilities.
Okay, that's good to know. The school that your kids go to it has culture in its name.
Instituto Cultural.
Cultural, so it's cultural. What cultural aspect is it? Do they have like a true cultural aspect? I know that you said they have one class that's religion. They study religion, and that's Milena studies religion in Spanish, correct?
They also teach Mandarin for younger kids. That's a new class that they're implementing now for kids that are in kindergarten and pre-K and the first 3 years. That's what they do.
So the cultural aspect may be like, they're learning the different languages and things like that.
Okay. Yes, or maybe just the name Instituto Cultural.
Like you said, well, maybe you're just reading too much into it, Charlotte.
No, it's okay.
So, okay, I will look into that for them because I know that, some things are different, like, whereas in the States, if you have a commercial property or a commercial space, it has to be by code. You have to have certain things for like people with disabilities, for people with disabilities to be able to access your place. And I don't think that I think Panama does pretty well with that, but it's not absolute.
No, we're way behind. We have, unfortunately, I'm sad to say that we're behind on that. And it's a must that the schools and the public places and the government make arrangement for people with disability. We're not there yet.
Yes. And even though you're not there yet, I mean, I think there are some countries that are a lot worse. Like I think I seen a program on Brazil. And I think Brazil was just like, you are just SOL if you have disabilities there, because there is nothing to assist with people with disabilities. So yes, we can always improve on certain things, but I think too, it's something for people to understand and keep in mind, especially if you do have a child with disabilities.
Yes. Oh, it came to my mind.
Yeah.
There's a public school for it calls BEIP, but I don't know, because if you're from a foreign, if the kids will be allowed to go to that school, because that's for Panamanian kids. There's something that we can find out.
Oh,
BEIP.
okay.
They have kids with Down syndrome, kids that have problems, hear problems or talking problems, and they will assist the kids. Autistic too.
Okay.
So, but I don't know if they receive kids, foreigners. Yes. So there's something that we have to look into.
Yes. Okay. And I've written that down, and I
will.
The
name is BEIP.
BEIP, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. Thank you. So listen, this has been real. Thank you so much for coming and speaking to us. I mean, it's just been an absolute education. And it's the first interview that I've been able to do with somebody boots on the ground in school. And so I just appreciate you, and I love you so much.
You're welcome. And I hope this information help a lot of people, because I've been there, and I know that sometimes can get a little bit frustrated if you don't have the correct tools and the correct information.
Exactly. And especially if it's something you have to get done in the United States and you're already here. That's the thing. Even with immigration, it's like, for people that just come here and think they're going to, apply for their, pensionado or friendly nation visa. You need boots on the ground, because more than likely there are things that you need to get in the States that you do not have. And so just knowing what is expected of you with all of the stress that parents have, with, just having to deal with that married person, make it as a couple, and then getting the kids adjusted and learning a new language and moving into a new environment, and then finding out that you don't have the stuff that you need to get your kids in school, and the pressure and the stress of having them start on time because you don't want them to be behind and everything like that. So all of this information is super, super good. And I appreciate it.
I'm glad it will help.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mamacita. Have a good day.
Thank you, my love. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.